15 bank officials have already been taken into custody, and another 2 are believed to be on the run.
In your business operation, do you have to pay bribes, sweeteners, payoffs to get things done?
Not necessarily. There was one chief executive officer that took away from her bank over 200 billion naira. We recovered from one CEO 200 pieces of real estate in Dubai.
In 2009, the governor of Central Bank of Nigeria decided to do a comprehensive audit of all the financial books of the major banks in Nigeria. Immediately after the 2008 Nigerian stock market crash, because there were suspicions of unwholesome practices, fraud, poor governance, price manipulation by some Nigerian banks in conjunction with stockbrokers, which caused several imbalances in the Nigerian financial sector, which eventually led to the crash of the Nigerian stock market. This audit was carried out by a body under the Central Bank of Nigeria in conjunction with the EFCC. Now, what they later discovered after their investigation became one of the biggest financial scandals Nigeria has ever witnessed. Now, in 2010, the former CEO of the Oceanic Bank Nigeria Limited, Cecilia Ibru, was arrested for embezzling $1.2 billion from the bank. This arrest was made by the EFCC after they found documents that showed how she approved loans that were either not repaid or were improperly given out. Now, many of these loans were approved to either companies that she personally owned, and in some cases, the loans were even issued out without proper documentation. Now, she had approved large amount of loans to companies owned by either her family members, her close associates, and had registered companies that were created solely to launder money for her benefit. These companies had no collateral in order to repay back these loans she had issued out to them. When a loan is issued, the borrower needs to provide a collateral asset that the bank can seize in case the loan is not repaid. However, in our own case, many of these loans were issued out without a credible collateral and sometimes without no collateral at all, which should have been done in a normal working environment. Bank loan officers, financial auditors were bypassed, and sometimes some of them were even manipulated, and they even collaborated together in order to embezzle this amount of money. At that time, when she was the CEO of Oceanic Bank, there was a systematic manipulation of the Oceanic Bank internal records to hide the true nature of these transactions. Loan approval documents were falsified and financial statements were doctored to hide the growing number of these bad loans. There were several manipulations in the bank audit trails, loan records, and email messages between her and some senior bank officials at Oceanic Bank. These documents they recovered showed how herself and her team, some of the senior officials at Oceanic Bank, engaged in covering up the poor performance of the loans she had either issued to herself or to a company she was a major shareholder in. All the loan approved documents, the meeting minutes, email correspondences, and internal memo showed how she personally approved risky loans that should have never been granted under normal banking practices, which included documents showing how she approved loans to a shell company that were never intended to be repaid whatsoever. She practically used her position to benefit a personal and business interest at the expense of Oceanic Bank, investors, as well as shareholders. Now, large funds were transferred and moved from Oceanic Bank accounts to offshore bank accounts. They were moved to bank accounts in countries where they pay little or no tax, especially to countries like the British Virgin Islands as well as Switzerland. The money were laundered through complex layers of transactions designed to hide any trail or to conceal the final destination of this money. Now, she has used a network of companies both in Nigeria and abroad to launder money she had embezzled. One major method she used was the transfer of the funds to offshore accounts under the name of family members, associates, or front companies. This money were moved from Nigerian banks to foreign banks through wire transfer, which is normally disguised as legitimate business transactions. These transactions were tracked by the EFCC through a combination of bank statements, wire transfer documentation, and internal cooperations with foreign financial institutions. Now, to disguise the source of this financial transaction, she structured the wire transfers in a way that made them appear like legitimate business transactions by falsifying the purpose of the transfer or linking the funds to business deals, consultancy fees, or payment for services. Sometimes multiple wire transfers were made in order to erase any suspicion by the Nigerian regulatory authorities. She also used a shell company which she has registered in British Virgin Islands in order to accept this wire transfer she made from Nigeria to Britain. This shell company would then be able to receive these funds she had wired from Oceanic Bank, thereby hiding the true origin and where the money actually came from. Now, the funds that she embezzled from Oceanic Bank were not just moved to offshore accounts and hidden in international banks, they were also used for significant personal enrichment. The laundered money were funneled to purchasing high-end luxurious real estate, luxurious assets, and investment both in Nigeria and abroad. She had purchased houses in VI, Lekki, as well as in Ikoyi, Lagos, Nigeria. She has also invested in several high-end residential buildings and luxury apartments, some of which were intended for rental purposes, which will allow her make a steady income. Now, she also owned several luxurious vehicles, including high-end cars such as Range Rovers, Mercedes-Benz, and other luxurious models, as well as sports cars. Now, these vehicles were part of her personal collection, which showcased a lavish lifestyle. A portion of the embezzled funds were used to purchase high-value jewelries, including diamonds, gold, as well as expensive piece of art from renowned artists for her personal collection. While most of these real estates were made in Nigeria, they were also finding that she bought real estate outside the shores of Nigeria, especially in London, Mayfair, Kensington, Chelsea, which are popular destinations for a lot of Nigerians who are buying property, especially those based in London. On the 19th of August 2009, she heard rumors that she would be arrested by the EFCC as well as the CBN, and so she plotted her escape from Nigeria by paying for a private jet owned by the owner of a company in order to fly to Ghana to prevent her from being arrested in Nigeria. Immediately, the security agencies heard about a plan to pay for a personal private jet to fly out of the country. They notified the security agency at the airport, and immediately her passport was seized. She was finally arrested in August 2009 after being removed as the managing director of Oceanic Bank by the Central Bank of Nigeria. While she was in the EFCC custody, several revelations were also gotten from her, including about 200 different real estate properties she had purchased spread across countries in the world, mansions in high-end areas of Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, properties in Dubai, South Africa, US, and the UK. Now, these properties were gotten from the diverted funds from Oceanic Bank, which she was managing at that particular time. She was eventually charged for multiple counts of theft, money laundering, granting of fraudulent loans, mismanagement of Oceanic Bank funds, laundering money through hidden assets. Initially, when she was charged, she pleaded not guilty to all the counts, but eventually she saw how overwhelmingly the evidence they had against her was so available, and now she knew that she would not escape it unless she comes clean. She eventually pleaded guilty to 5 of the 25 offenses she was eventually tried for. When she pled guilty, she opted for a plea bargaining deal, which will allow her to reduce her sentence for the offenses she has pleaded guilty for. In exchange, she was going to forfeit a lot of properties that she had used the money to buy in several countries across the world. She later forfeited about $1.2 billion worth of assets, including 94 properties in Nigeria, 49 properties in Dubai, 41 properties in the US, and numerous shares and funds in several banks in Nigeria. As a result of her pleading guilty to the 5 offenses out of 25, she was given a lesser sentence of 6 months in prison, lesser than the regulatory sentence she would have been given, and served her time at a relatively low security facility in Nigeria. Even though people criticize her sentence as very lenient, and this will not deter a lot of people who have stolen Nigerian funds and shareholders' money. There were reports that there are still some money that she had not even given out to the EFCC, and she still personally owns as a result of the money she embezzled from Oceanic Bank. Today, Oceanic Bank does not exist anymore because of the atrocity Mrs. Cecilia Ibru had caused the shareholders. Now, what do you think are the sentencing and the punishment she was given? Do you think it is ridiculous? Make sure you type in the comment below. Let us hear your thoughts, and make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. I will see you in the next one.